Hello, this is Telmir and welcome to another repair video. We're working on an iPhone 11 Pro Max. This is great as the customer has taped up the screen for me, so I'm not going to be getting little pieces of shards of glass all over my workbench, which is nice. What we're going to be doing is a screen replacement. That's really all this phone needs, as far as I know, and that's what the customer is paying for. So I'm going to show you guys how that's done. Alright, that's all nice and warm. Now how these come out is, especially when it's in this condition, I would usually use a suction cup, but this isn't going to work. It's just not going to work. It's too badly damaged. Even with the tape there's not going to be much suction. I do this anyways, but I'm going to be relying on a lot more is a razor blade. I'm just going to stick this into the little gap right here. This is just number 17 chisel blade. It is not wanting to go in. There we go. Nope, popped back out. It is, it's not wanting to stick in there. Let's try to put it some alcohol on that edge just in advance, and maybe I can force the alcohol in. And if you're wondering about my heat plate, I have that set to 90 degrees Celsius. So I'm just going to push this in and I'm going to pry upwards. You can see it's got in there a bunch. I'm going to stick my nail in there to hold it in place. And then I take one of these picks, stuff it in there, and just push it on around. So happy that tape's there. It's usually when there's no tape on there, you just got glass just pinging off when it's this bad. Looks like the customer put a little tape on the corner right there. It's gonna be hard to get the alcohol in. I always just pull this to the side and drop a little bit of alcohol on the edges right there. There, just give it a wiggle. Just like that. Come on. Tape is holding it down. There we go. Nice. Let's put some screws there to hold the screen up. It's just this, and this. And the reason why you got to take these three plates off is one, you want to unplug the battery before you start working on the screen. There is a lot of amperage going through that screen, a lot of power, so you don't want to cause any shorts even if the chance is low. There we go. We can get to that cable now. So we just pop that one up. And this part of the battery. There we go. Those are both your ribbon cables for your battery. Battery is disconnected now. Let's get this plate out. Now you got another three cables. You got to take this ribbon cable out. You need to take this ribbon cable out, and you got this one out. I usually use my nail, but can also use a spudger as well. It does work decently well as long as there's something left of it right there, but I do find that it is easier with the nail. Just got to be careful. Sometimes they get little capacitors or components that are around them. Usually it's okay. Let's get this old seal off of the board. That came off surprisingly well. Let's give this a quick clean. We have a new seal, new adhesive. Now you see this chip right here. This chip contains the information for True Tone and all that. It also contains the serial information that tells the phone that it is an authentic iPhone screen. I do not currently have the capabilities, like the understanding, or maybe it's not so much that, it's just I'm nervous to try it. But the more experienced technicians, more knowledgeable, will take the chip from here and they'll take that off and they'll take this chip and they'll put that right there in that place there. I'm not capable really of doing that. It's a scary thing to do, so I'm not doing it yet. Maybe someday I will, and when I get experienced enough in doing it, I'll show you guys how I do it. In the meantime, what I'm going to be doing is simply using a machine to copy over the True Tone as well as the serial number. Unfortunately, what it results in is a screen that does in fact report itself as being an unknown part, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't really affect the phone's functionality or anything like that. So what I'm doing right now is I just took out the screws from here. This one is a really tiny screw, and that's a tri-point, and these two are standard Phillips star point screws. So I just take a pair of pliers, and I'm just going to put it underneath here, just pry it up carefully. And same thing with over here. That's another sensor. I'm just putting the tip just underneath. I'm doing it really carefully, just pulling up as I go. You don't want to pierce anything. If you pierce one of these parts, you'll have broken it. So that one's up as well. Now we just got this little sensor right here. This part is important. If it breaks, the Face ID doesn't work. So this is part of the Face ID sensor. Sometimes they're broken anyways, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it. That's usually the result of how the screen was broken in the first place. Great, this one's not broken. Let's get this the rest of the way out. When I lever this up, it's gonna come right out. Just like that. Come on. Nice. For the next step, we're going to be comping over that display information. So I've got a Keon Lee device here. You're first going to use the old screen. It's usually this connector that you end up using, not this one. And I'm just connecting it up to this particular connector. So I'm just pressing the read. If it doesn't read the first time, just try again. It usually does it on the second or third time still, even if it's being a bit of a jerk. Take the new screen, same thing, same process. The only difference is we're going to be pressing the bottom left. This is how you keep True Tone. If you don't do this process, and I've seen some phones that have come to me where the screen has been replaced, but True Tone hasn't been copied over. And True Tone is what allows for the screen to adapt on its own, as far as I can remember. So the only way you're going to get your screen to adapt is if you do it yourself, which is kind of annoying. Okay, let's connect this up here. And you're just going to get your parts all lined up. Here we are. Just pushing them down. This one sometimes sticks a little bit, but it should be flush and just a little bit lower. I'll use something to point at. This little thing, this sensor, should be lower than this rectangular sensor here by a little bit, maybe a couple of millimeters, 32nd of an inch. And we're just going to flip this down like that. Now I'm going to chuck in these screws, but I'm not going to tighten them up all the way. I'm just going to put one screw in for now. And I'm not tightening it up all the way. It's because sometimes top left screw doesn't align properly. The easiest way to solve that is just to fix it in place, but don't tighten it down all the way. Now I can do that. That's great. Your speaker is in place. I'm just going to put this new adhesive in, and for this particular version, what you got to do is fold up right there, and then you can peel the back off. This one actually comes in two different layers. You got a first layer and a second layer, I'm pretty sure. Let's get it in. Have to align it first at the front. I struggled with this a lot when I first started doing these. You just get it lined up at the top, and once you have it lined up at the top, you're golden for the rest. There we go. I just take my fingers and I just slip it along the sides there, and that keeps it aligned. Now it's not fully stuck down yet. I take a plastic spudger or a pry tool, whatever you want to call it. You're going to run it along the edges initially just to get it stuck down. Yeah, it looks like it does come in two layers, I think. Maybe? Yes, it is. So once you get that down, it'll be even easier to go and get this more well fixed. I'm just rubbing it carefully along that new seal, making sure it's well affixed. Just take this, stuff it underneath this little guy right here, and start pulling. Now if there's any points where it sticks, you just let go and you can just rub it a little bit more. That one's sticking a little bit. You just give it a little bit more. Now, if I wasn't sure about the screen, the new screen working properly, I wouldn't have put that in just yet. I'd test the screen first and then connect it all together. But I'm pretty sure this is going to work. I rarely have problems with these third-party screens. So let's get these connectors in. You should hear a little bit of a snap or feel one when you put it in. Yes, feel it. Feel a little bit of a crunch as they go into place. If it's not going in place easily, then you know you're not getting it properly aligned. There we go. That went in well. Very good. Let's reconnect the battery and test before we start putting those shields on. So we see the Apple logo so far, that's good, but we need to do more than that. We need to also test to make sure that the touchscreen works. So I'll show the emergency phone number section, and I'll see if it can work in there. Okay, we're in that section now for the emergency calls. As you can see, we do have a functioning screen, which is great. Excellent. So let's turn the phone off. We can get those shields back on in place. And there we go, shields in place. Let's put it together. Now, if you're having some difficulties, I always start off with putting the front of the screen in first and just make sure that it's bumping up against the top as firmly as possible. And then I push my finger right there on that side so that we can get this side of the screen in first. It shouldn't be extremely hard to push in. If it is extremely hard, there is two possibilities of what's happening. First is that it's catching on the edge, on the frame of the phone itself. The other possibility is that there's some sort of debris that's directly underneath the screen. In that occasion, you just want to take the screen back off and see what's going on. Now let's put those pentalobe screws back in. Now, I sometimes find the screws, on the very rare occasion, are a little bit difficult to get in. When that happens, I just go back and forth with it a few times, and then you can put it in. And there we have it. iPhone 11 Pro Max screen replacement done. And one very happy customer to come. Thank you guys all for watching. If you guys like the video, please do leave a like. And if you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe. See you guys all in another video. Bye.